Hello everybody, welcome to the Art of Comics. I'm Mr. Salazar. Today, we're going to talk about one of the best books ever made. We're not talking about Mouse. We're not talking about The Watchmen. Not From Hell. Or Pariah, Missouri. We're going to talk about the Incal by Jodorowsky and Moebius. This book is crazy. Let's get into it. Come on, let's go. Let's do this. Come on, let's go. Let's just take you. Come on, let's do this. Get my book. Okay, let's go. Family's not here this week, so we're just gonna go down here and we're gonna make some freaking videos, okay? Oh, it's a little poster I got, Pearl Jam, really great. Okay, here we go. Let's talk Moebius.
Are you ready?
Okay, I am super excited to talk to you guys about this book. This is one of the best books. I actually have only just read this about maybe 8 years ago. So I didn't discover it until my adulthood. Humanoids has switched hands. Humanoids is now an American company. They're based out in LA. I actually know some of those guys. Alex, if you're watching, good on you. They have the kind of Moebius, a lot of the Moebius, not the estate, but they have a lot of the Moebius kind of classics. And before we even get into Incal and this book by Jodorowsky and Moebius, you gotta talk about Dune. We gotta talk about Frank Herbert Dune. Herbert's Dune is like one of the biggest sci-fi franchises ever. When it came out in the 70s, this thing was massive. Dune was just a huge, huge hit. It is amazing. I love the book. I love the books. And I even like the David Lynch story, okay? But before you would go into David Lynch, we got to talk about Jodorowsky wanting to do this with Moebius, wanting to make a film version of Dune. So there's a documentary called, I think it's called Jodorowsky's Dune. Wonderful documentary. Highly recommend. Go see that. Maybe I'll even review it. If you want me to, comment below. I'll freaking review it. That movie goes into what would have been this film project. And basically, Jodorowsky grabbed the idea of Dune, the high concept of it, and then just went crazy. Crazy good, crazy creative, crazy like, you know, the Holy Mountain and El Topo and all those other crazy stories. So he got a couple themes out of Frank Herbert's story and just got Moebius to do design work, and they just made this big freaking tome of a book with storyboards and pre-production and script and everything. And they went and shopped it around to all the studios, and no one bought it. No one wanted it. It was too crazy. It was too wild. They didn't do it. Then, shortly hereafter, some of the same art production team that Jodorowsky was doing, some of the same people like Archie Geiger, like Dan Bannon, all these people, the scriptwriter, all these people that were working on Jodorowsky's Dune, guess what they did? They went and made Ridley Scott's Alien, okay? So if you look at the creativity and the kind of art and the things that they did in Alien, that crew, that team, was the Dune team. That was Jodorowsky's team, okay? But Jodorowsky was bringing it to 11. The colors, the wild hair, it's as if what Game of Thrones should have been. Instead of the toned down, muted HBO Game of Thrones, if they actually would have went with the character descriptions and what R.R. Martin was doing in the books, it would have been like kind of wild and crazy. So this became the Dune story. So basically, Jodorowsky said, "Look, I can't make this movie. It costs too much. The studio doesn't want to do it. I can't independently do it. I'm not gonna do Dune. But Moebius, you're a great Frenchman. We love you. You can make comics. I'm gonna turn my idea into a damn comic book." And that's what he did. The Incal is the would-be Dune story in a way. I mean, not complete, but I mean, we'll get to these parts that are very Dune-like, and so that's something to kind of like think about. That this was kind of the creation of a failed movie project of Dune. Okay, so with that, let's get into this. We're going to do this in bits, okay? So this is just part 1. We're going to cover just the first 48 pages because it's so good. I don't want to rush it, and I think it'd be kind of fun to like do a bunch of videos and like cover this because it is a series worth talking about, okay? So let's start with this guy and let's flip the camera over and do this. Okay, guys, let's break this down. Okay, this is a great collection. Godwood forward by Ben Dales, which is fine. It is $45. Maybe it's a little pricey, but being hardcover and actually being just this material, I think it's worth it. Okay, I'm not gonna balk at the price on that. Okay, little painted version. Moebius, pencil and inker. We do have some colors here, some different colors. Yves, Chalad, Isabel, Joannette, and Joran Gentov. Alejandro Jodorowsky is the writer. And let's just get into this. So we're starting with the Black Incal. These are in little chapters. So it's all kind of written out in these little chapters, which is pretty fun, kind of nice, because then you could just like bite-size it if you want. There's so much to unpack. I think this is Moebius's like... This is the watershed. This is the one as far as the Americans really gravitated to. This is what put him on the map in a lot of ways. Now, we talked about heavy metal. Of course he did heavy metal. People saw that first. But this collection, this story is what breaks it all down. Now, you notice he changed his name. So here, let me just flip over here. This is Blueberry, okay? So, this is Blueberry. Now, Blueberry, he really didn't go by Moebius. I think they just changed it to Moebius because in America he's known as Moebius, and so we associate him as Moebius, and so graffiti designs decided to say, we'll call this the Moebius versions. But his real name is, I've been saying Jean, okay? But if it's Jean or Jean, or I always say Jean, but if it's Jean, fine. Jean Girard, okay? Girard. You guys can correct me. Please do so, because people have been commenting me. I am not French. I will screw that up. But I love to say it appropriately and correctly. If it was Spanish, I'd be able to pull it off, but I don't know it, so forgive me. The name aside, let's just look at this. The whole point of this was to look at the art. So when Gear was doing this work, he's using a lot of brush. It looks different though. If you look at this stuff, you'll notice this looks different than this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the tools. I think he used a lot thinner brushes than this stuff. There's no big thick lines in this that you'll see here. This is more of a classic, like almost 60s, 70s inking style with bigger brushes, bigger, sable brushes, maybe 4s and things like that. This is either smaller brushes or he's using tech pens or a little bit of both, okay? So a lot more techie pen-like, stuff like that, but the inking is different. It looks different, and this is like his style that he's bringing onto this. There's so much to talk about in these freaking books, and I guess we got to mention the coloring, but the the perspectives that he throws in here and the level of details that he puts on these is quite remarkable. When I look at stuff like this, and he was really known to be super fast. When I look at this, I just think of time. I think of this here. This right here is a lot of time to just draw this. You're getting a French curve. You're getting little, your rulers out, and you're rulering this out, and you're doing this. You're sketching it out first, and you're inking this. This takes a lot of time. Look at all these little like windows, and look even here in the window. There's like something going on in there. And this stuff, there's two little guys there and two little guys there. That takes a lot of effort and time. So I just like hats off to that. Great detail here. He puts just the right amount of hatching to give that form, right? That volume form. This image is one of the kind of classic images we see a lot of times. You saw this in heavy metal magazines. You saw this in The Fifth Element. You see this a lot. This idea, almost like Blade Runner 2, you see this idea of the perspective of these levels going down. You just didn't see this type of art back then. This is really wonderful. Do we have the original publication date on here? Let me look here. Okay, here we go. The first printing of the Black Incal, which is the first part of the story, was in 81. Okay? So 81, also the series is also called The Adventures of John DeFool. 81. Let's think about this is before Ronin. This is before all the Miller stuff. I mean, he was doing Daredevil, I think. This is before the Alan Moore stuff. This is like way back. 81. I can't even think of what was going on in 81. I mean, X-Men was hot. But I think the artist for that was like John Romita Jr. or somebody, or maybe Cochran even. I don't remember. But this is like revolutionary, and still today it holds up. You got to give the shout out to the coloring. The coloring is great too here. The story is this: John DeFool is a private eye, not necessarily a good one, and we start off with the story of him just getting beat up. It's got that noir kind of feeling, right? It's this beat up detective. He's, we start off with him just getting shit kicked. He gets thrown off the edge. And in this society, there's suicides all the time. And so once someone falls off, maybe others will start falling off too. And it triggers a wave of suicides. And they all go down to the bottom of this like acid lake. And then people on the higher levels, who are the more aristocrats, and the rich people are on the higher levels, the poor people are on the low levels, they start shooting at him, and it's like a game, right? They shoot at the suicides and such like that. Well, he's trying to kill himself. Well, excuse me. He's being thrown off. He's not trying to kill himself. He's just getting thrown off. But people save him. The police save him. And there's a reason why. Because he has something that they want. This is a great panel here, too. I don't know why I just love the action of this. There's a simplicity to that gunfire and the coloring that just works really well. So, and then look at this, the techie stuff, the ships. I mean, this is really good. Just talking to you guys about it is great. And then I love this designs of these big bulbous ships. He's captured by the police, and they question him. He gets his new job. So he gets this gig from this lady who is one of these aristocrats. Now, the aristocrats on the higher levels, they have this little like halo. They got this little like artificial halo. It's part of their like their dress and such. Anyway, she has a contract for him. She wants to be sent down to the bottom level, to the Red Ring, which is the lowest level, to go live out some hedonistic feelings or passions. Basically, the aristocrats on the high level are too good for the base physical pleasures and all that kind of like carnal desires. So they will kind of go down there incognito, live out their orgies and their fantasies, and then go back up to their piousness in their real world. So she's like, to go take me down there. I want to get my freak on. I'm going to give you 50 kublars. We assume that's a lot. And he's like, okay, I'll take you down there. I'll take you all the way down there. But you got to get me back by midnight. So she's like, okay, I'll do it. She goes down. This is great composition, by the way. She goes down. She gets it on with everybody and everything, including this like hybrid dog face guy who's going to town. And it's about midnight, and he's like, we got to go. You got to get back by midnight. That's part of the contract. I'm not getting my money unless you're back by midnight. And he's like, well, he won't stop. And so he's like, well, I'm going to shoot the dude. He shot him in the ear. He's like, look, I got a contract that says I got to get her back by midnight. And he's about to get beat up by the dog face guy when they find out the reason why she's got to get back by midnight is she's got some sort of a hollow mask that wears off at midnight. So she's actually this old crone that goes down there to get her freak on. And he runs off. He's in this tube. He's trying to escape. Now he's in this like sewer type system. And there's this mutant there that's running. And he falls down. The mutant is kind of looks like he's been stabbed. And we find out that, so now we kind of got flash forward. He's got some money. He's got the money from the gal. And then he's going to get himself a little robot slave for the evening. I guess you create these little like robot girls to like sex dolls. So he's going to get his freak on now. But he's remembering what happened back there. And so that's kind of an interesting idea. They could have just went straight into the story, but then they flash forward to, or I guess flash present to him after this whole ordeal. And he's now reflecting upon it. So I'm not sure what. I guess it's just more interesting that way. He finds out while he's getting it on with the robot girl that in this body of one of these mutants is this like a jewel or some sort of a crystal, and it is the Incal. He doesn't know what it is, but it's an Incal. And he opens it for a moment, and you can tell he gets kind of zapped. And again, I really love the colors and just the positioning of these people. This is just so good stuff. And I'm butchering the story slightly, and I apologize, but I don't know how much we want to like get into all the details. But he's recounting the story to. He's kind of thinking about it, but also telling the girl. Inside the mutant was one of these Bergs. Now, a Berg is this alien race that's at war right now with the people, and so there's this little bit of a political conflict with these different races. And so he takes this crystal, the Incal, and he takes it with him, not knowing really what it is or what it does, but it has some sort of a psychic powers that he figured. And now he's going back to his home, and this is where he lives, his little studio apartment type of deal. And that's the Incal. And then, boom, somebody's there. They want this thing, and they're these killers, and they're after him. And I love the battles. He runs, escapes from them. Another thing about Moebius, just check out these crowd shots. I really like these. I really like these kind of side views of all these different characters and these different like costumes. It's really interesting the way he did his costumes. I thought it was really kind of fun, and I don't know why I got a Tintin vibe just now, but a little bit of a Tintin vibe on some of this. But it's just really kind of fun drawing. Lovely characters, just really fun characters, and faces and costumes and stuff, and just great with crowds. I mean, again, just talking about work. We got a couple of panels here where there's no backgrounds, but most of this, the backgrounds are very fully rendered. And this is a fully rendered comic with a lot of background, a lot of work goes in here, so I appreciate that. I respect it. So he finds out that there's some kind of a healing going on, some sort of a magical healing in his apartment. Like, what's going on? Well, it turns out that his little bird, Depot, swallowed the Incal and now is glowing and is healing people. And so he grabs them, he chokes the bird, he throws up the Incal, he grabs it with his hand. Everyone's pissed off because the bird's no longer healing people anymore. So it definitely has these kind of magical powers. And then the burger here. And then they come looking for this thing too, right? So he's in the middle of this like intergalactic turmoil. Look at this panel again. Just look at so much action, and plotting this out. I'm assuming he sketched all this out and planned it out. But, there's a chance where he just drew it. I don't know. The process on some of this. I'd be interested though. And now those mutants are there. So the mutants are now fighting the Bergs, and they're both looking for this thing. Then the cops show up, and that's what the cops are. And these are just great little big scenes. The cops are there. Just look at this. Oh man, it's so good, dude. It's just so good. Now the cops, part of the cops is the president. I'm assuming the president's almost kind of like the emperor in Dune. The president has these like squad of like stormtrooper type hunchbacks, which are bioengineered guys, and they capture John DeFool. Now, next chapter we're in is his high supremacy, or his supreme highness, rather. Here we see the president gets reincarnated, or his mind transferred to a new body every so many generations or years. And so he winds up getting a new body. So he's used up his body here. It's now fat and decrepit and wasted from his orgies and such. And now he's getting a new fit body and clean and beautiful and handsome. And so, that's a thing coming in the future. And they're talking about, finding the Incal, finding this thing. And he finds out, well, there's this PI guy named John DeFool that's got it. And they're like, well, we got to get that. Again, wonderful, like, just really cool idea for a ship. And I like the perspective. You can see how massive it is by the clouds and the land on the below. So here's now the president. And notice he's got his halo and his aristocrat kind of groupies all have theirs. And here's the hunchbacks, and they've got John DeFool. So he's like, yeah, hey, John DeFool, that's you. Yeah, that's me. Well, come on, let me go take you to the cushions of light. So they're chilling, smoking, drinking. He's got they're just like relaxing. The president's like just trying to get him calm because he's going to get that thing out of him. Well, John DeFool swallowed the Incal, similar to the bird did, and he's flying. He starts glowing. He's flying in the sky, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we got to get this. We got to get this thing out of him." Makes him throw up, and then he tries to escape. Right, so he takes off. Great figures. He's running down. Gets in a ship, and zooms off. Now there's like an APB type of deal. He's like escaping. They're looking for him everywhere they can. Now he's got the Incal, and he's kind of like having these weird little like metaphysical conversations with it. So it's got some kind of sentience to it. And there's this strange moment here where this is where Jodorowsky gets a little weird at times, where it gets very metaphysical. There's a lot of like interesting heady ideas, and we just have these visuals to kind of like try to figure out what's going on. But basically, the Incal kind of like slices up his id, or personality into these various like elements of him, of who he is. And as he sliced up the physical body, so the spirit kind of gets sliced up into these different parts of his body, and they fight over the Incal, and it's all kind of this metatextual kind of thought. And then he wakes up kind of sore neck and head, and Depot's there, his little buddy, and so they're headed towards the techno priest, the techno area. Now, let me just pause there for a second. Incal has become quite a big world, and Jodorowsky, along with other artists, have done a number of different like stories in this world. So there's been these stories about the Metabaron, the techno priests, all these different like organizations and figures in this universe. We'll call it the Incal universe, or Jodorowsky verse, or whatever they call it now. So there's a series of graphic novels, if you want we can cover it, about just the techno priests and like that whole system. So he's going to these guys, and these guys are evil bastards too. Their deal is using bodies and salvaging different organs or parts of cadavers to then they're creating this thing called this black Incal. And they're trying to create the shadow egg, which is this device. We don't know quite what it is yet, but it's this device. So he's on this conveyor belt of like dead bodies, and it's kind of a classical scene that he escapes, and he kind of like runs away from all the robotic arms trying to disassemble him. They see him, in the monitor, so they got to go find him and capture him, and they do. And they don't know about the Incal quite yet, but they're here at the kind of the epicenter of their technology. Meanwhile, back with the acid lakes at the bottom of the city, we have the Metabaron. Metabaron was another story that I just mentioned he had done. He is like the galaxy's greatest mercenary, and he has his own planet and group, and he comes from a line of different Metabarons, and they each have this ability to be the baddest asses, right? So he goes, meets him. I love the art. The art is so damn good. He goes, meets a dog-faced guy, and they're gonna go see this Queen Amok, and there is now a quest for him, and he's like, okay, I want you to do something for me. Evidently we don't know that it just happens where she has his kid captured. So this is the Metabaron's son, the would-be future Metabaron. He's there captured by these like eels, and she's like, no, don't try to like break. Okay, I got you covered. He's on the force field. You're not getting it. But if you want your kid back, you can have your kid. I want John DeFool. John DeFool has the Incal. I want him. So he's now on the hunt for John DeFool. Okay, so he's on the hunt for him. That's going to be a whole like story, and so he begins that process. Look at that, isn't that great? Remember I said does he use big brushes? He does right there, huh? He's a little bit there. And now we have this kind of story going. So we've got different people looking for him, and that is part one. We'll do the rest. It's so freaking good. I'm a huge fan of the story, and thank you guys for watching this. If you don't have this, totally get it, read up to it, and then we can get to the next parts and you can be caught up. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one. Take care.